There are moments when the universe whispers, now is the time to begin again. And for me, March 21st marks one of those times. Welcome to another episode of Coming to Your Senses, where we navigate the labyrinth of the mind and emerge victorious. As I've mentioned on more than one episode, the title of the podcast kind of hits on many levels. And one of those levels is around nature, coming to your senses and engaging with nature, and engaging with the world at large. And Spring Equinox, which is the 21st of March, marks the start of the spring in the Northern Hemisphere. And what I find fascinating is how much I didn't know about this until probably, 5-10 years ago. I just wasn't interested. All I was interested about was at the end of March when the clocks change in the UK, and we might lose an hour, but it gets lighter. That was kind of all I really thought about. But actually, now I look at Spring Equinox and the 21st of March in a different way. I don't do big ceremonies or things like that, but it's definitely something that's been dialed up in my awareness. And so I wanted to share where I'm at with that, and share my thoughts with you on it as an invitation, because what I notice is that there are many religions, cultures, traditions that acknowledge the equinoxes throughout the year, but specifically with the spring equinox, whether it's you're looking at the in Mexico or in in Stonehenge or in any of those great monuments, that when the light hits or at a certain point in those equinox moments and it creates, the alignment is quite mind-blowing. Or whether it's in other cultures like in Hindus, where they have the Holi festival where they throw all the paint, or whether it's in Persia where they used to do, they have a new year and it's a renewal of life at this point of year. It gets acknowledged in many, many cultures. And I think in the Western world, very often in our technological world, it's just a date. It's just something that's head down, crack on. It's just a date, that's all. But if you're listening to this, even if you're not listening to it on the 21st of March, my invitation is for you to really start to think about how you can come to your senses and be more in alignment with nature's senses. So for me, this spring equinox, it's all about this transformative time, and the actual equinox is about that balance of day and night and that light and that shift. So one of the first things that I really started to think about is balance, and what does balance actually mean? And it will mean different things for different people, because at the end of the day, it's a word and we have our own meanings for words. And what I notice as a coach is the term work-life balance gets used a lot. And I find it unhelpful a lot of the time, because I think it's a myth. And I think that people are looking for something, that they're looking for a magic pill or it's the silver bullet to get this equalness between work and life and everything. Once they've found that magic solution, it's going to stay like that. And that's where the myth is, because it's something that's always in movement. It's, there are times when work may be more demanding. There's times when life might be more demanding, and things need more attention at home. So for me, spring, this new invitation is giving us an opportunity. It's an invitation to look at your life and what needs more balance, quote unquote, or actually what needs more attention. What have you been ignoring? If you've listened to the first episode of Coming to Your Senses, you'll know that in the early 2000s, I experienced a breakdown. I tried different therapies, but it was coaching that truly helped me transform my life. Initially, when I discovered coaching, though, I couldn't afford it. And it was a kind soul who sponsored me not only to have coaching, but also to train and become a coach. And my promise to them was that I would pay it forward. And I've done that in many ways over the years, initially through social media and private Facebook group called Confidence Revolution, and also through Coming to Your Senses, the podcast. But it triggered for me a passion to really want to make and create a secure, supportive space for people to be able to come together and have conversations that transform their lives. So I created the Conscious Conversations community. It's a group where we meet on more than once a month. We have a focused theme, which is guided by the community and facilitated by me. There's hundreds of hours of learning and resources and materials to help you transform your life in a like-minded space. Because I get passionate about it and because this was my promise to pay it forward, I'm offering you the opportunity to trial it for £1 for the first month. If that appeals to you, then head to juleswyman.online/conscious conversations offer. juleswyman.online/conscious conversations offer to explore what's available for you through being part of a conscious community. I think I've mentioned this in one of the podcast episodes, and if I haven't, then this might be new information for you, but I'm heading to Nepal at the end of March to do a trek, the Manaslu circuit in the Himalayas. It's not something I've done for a very long time. I've never been to Nepal. And I'm really looking forward to it on numerous levels. But one of the reasons is that it will give me an opportunity to take some time to reflect on my life and look at what needs attention, where are things out of whack, where can I have more balance, what would that look like? Asking myself and looking for a lot of those answers, really. And I think that in order to be able to do that, in order to be able to get balance, that's where we need to look at, okay, well then I'm probably going to need to release something, or probably many things. I'm going to need to let go of stuff. I had a really interesting conversation with a client last week who, when we were talking about things, the quote that came out was the recognition that most of us hold on to things that no longer serve us because we're scared of what it is that we're going to lose rather than focus on what it is that we're going to gain. I've completely paraphrased the quote because I can't remember the exact quote, but it is that we are so focused on what we're going to lose that we forget that we're potentially going to gain something. By emptying my plate, then I can put something else on there. But if I keep hold of what's on there, then it's probably going to go moldy and not really serve me much more. So taking the time to reflect, and it may be physical things that need a clearing out and a declutter of. And I love a good declutter. But it's not just decluttering of the external world. It's decluttering of the internal world because we all have thinking that is completely outdated and doesn't serve a purpose anymore, that's potentially been around from pre 7 years old and yet is still guiding the life of a 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old person, maybe even beyond. So that's what I mean by taking the time to look at, where is my thinking out of balance? Where is that maybe not helping in the way that I would like it to? What about any other habits? Anything that that may be unconscious, I want to bring into the conscious. And that's not always easy. It's not always comfortable. But my stock phrase, which you might have heard me use before, is be kind with what you find. Whenever you're doing any sort of reflection, we all have thinking that we kind of do a screwy face with when we hear it come to that. I can't believe I think that about them or about myself or about the situation. That's a bit like, ugh. So be kind with what you find. Don't judge it. But if you are looking for balance, then you've got to see what's there, what's causing the imbalance in order to be able to look for that movement and that balance. And that's one of the things why I wanted to talk about spring equinox in particular on the 21st of March, because maybe in the last 5 years, I've never really enjoyed New Year's Eve anyway. I've certainly never enjoyed the whole New Year, New You kind of push. And in the last 5-ish, maybe a bit longer years, what's become apparent for me is it just doesn't make sense. Why would we be doing this whole push of a new year, new you, big energy, let's change everything up, slap bang in the middle of winter, when actually the invitation is to retreat, rejuvenate, reflect, give ourselves a bit of relaxation time? Why would we go into, come on, New Year's resolutions, let's push it forward and all of that sort of thing? It's never really sat well with me. And then a few years ago, you may already know this, but it only dawned on me a few years ago. I suddenly clocked that September, October, November, and December all start with a number. And September is Sept 7, October Oct 8, November Nov 9, December, you see where I'm going with this, right? And I suddenly realized that the numbers were out of whack with the calendar that I was following. Realized obviously that the calendar that we have now, the Gregorian calendar, was one that was created years ago. It's not the original calendar that we were following. The most of the references seem to be that what we would have followed is actually the moon cycles, which meant that every month would have had 28 days. We wouldn't have had to do either learning a nursery rhyme or the whole knuckle count to try and remember how many days there are in a month. We would have followed the lunar cycles, and there would have been 13 months because there's 13 lunar cycles in a year. And that meant that we would have started a new year in March. So to me, those things then suddenly made more sense as to why now would be the time to actually celebrate and look at the power of a new beginning and actually reflect on where is it that you want to go from here, and this new energy, this transformative energy that spring is. How could you bring that into your life right now? What is it that you could be doing with that? That suddenly made far more sense to me. So, that's what I've been doing, and that's why I'm taking this processing when I go on my trip, because it's around about that time, and it would just be a great opportunity to look at that transformative even opportunity to look at, well, if I'm looking, for me, I'm always, no matter what it is, if I'm looking for balance, then I need to have an awareness of what's the opposite in my life. So if I want balance, I need to look where I'm out of balance or imbalance, so that I can then see, well, what am I holding on to, or what habits I've got, what am I doing, what's in the way, what's cluttering and stopping me, preventing me, restricting me from having the thing that I'm looking for. And it may not be balance, it may be something else. It may be, say maybe I'm looking for confidence. Okay, well, where does anxiety, nerves come up? Maybe I want to experience, and of course my mind's gone blank. Maybe I want to experience some more courage. Okay, well, where am I not being courageous? Or maybe I want to have more freedom. Okay, well, where am I being restrictive? So that's a process that I'm always doing, is um, looking at what do I need to release in order for me to have the thing that I'm looking for. Now, interestingly enough, there's a Hindu festival called Holi, where they it's the one where they throw loads of the coloured paint, which always looks really cool. But actually, that the purpose and the stories that go behind that festival are around release. It's around, okay, it's time for declutter, strip off, let go, don't need any of this stuff anymore. And what I find interesting is so many of these festivals that have been around for millennia are actually their personal development, because they're all about going with nature and letting go of stuff, restarting anew, pushing yourself to the next bit, growing, then relaxing, and then going round to the next part again, and then repeating. So the first part of the spring equinox is about that release, let go, then look for what's the balance. What is it that you're really looking for? And then look about what's the one bold action that you can take in relation to that. And bold action doesn't have to be running down the street naked or making a big declaration. It might be the bold action that you want to take. But the bold action might be saying no. I had a conversation with a friend at the weekend who had a realization of how infrequently she was saying no to something that actually wasn't helpful. And she was like, right, I really need to set boundaries. That's a great thing, that awareness of, right, I'm not saying no. The balance is I need to look at how and where I say yes and no to, and the action is saying no more often. I know that she'll implement that and that she will make some changes in her life that will benefit her and the rest of her family, which I think is so, so cool. And that's my invitation. I feel like I'm banging a drum at the moment because I'm so excited about this. And it's really nice to know that this podcast is airing on the 21st of March. So that's my energy that's going out, is all about this spring equinox and this invitation, because I spent many, many years head down, cracking on, doing work, whether that was when I was working as a stage manager, would just get up, go to work, go out and get drunk afterwards, and then go home, rinse and repeat for days on end. Or whether that was then when I started my own business, it was of coaching. It was just like keeping going, keeping going. And it's only been as I've got older that I've really started to take notice of nature. I wish that I'd have done it earlier, but I didn't. But nature shows us change. She invites us to realize that we're part of that and be conscious of that. And in that moment of consciousness that we have, through kindness, through caring for ourselves, we can look at ourselves and life afresh. We can look at what's going to be helpful for me next. And that's my invitation for you. That's what I would love to offer you out from this episode of Coming to Your Senses today, is what is it that you would like to do afresh, looking at what you can let go, what you can bring into balance, and what bold action that you can take. And I'd love to know what you decide to do. So please do leave your thoughts, your insights in the comments. Leave your questions there too, if you've got those. And remember to like and subscribe, regardless of what channel that you're listening to this on. And I look forward to seeing you in another episode. And yeah, let's see where spring takes us.